How to love an animal to death. Let's get into the video. If you're new here, like, subscribe, and comment down below what your favorite animal is. Yeah, mine is obviously the bat. Yeah.
This is the exact moment right before a sea lion grabbed and dragged a little girl off a fisherman's wharf off British Columbia. Thankfully, she was immediately rescued and mostly unharmed,
Yippee.
but given a small parting gift of a small superficial bite wound and a trip to the hospital to be treated for seal finger, which surely wasn't fun. This situation turned out a lot better than it could have been, but it's only a symptom of a much larger problem. This is the skull of a polar bear, the largest land predator on Earth, and an instant health bar above your head when you see one.
Okay.
This is the skull of the mercifully extinct short-faced bear, and this is the skull of a spotted hyena, a predatory laugh track with jaws that can chew through an elephant's leg. Nobody with people that actually care about them would ever walk willingly into the strike range of one of these animals.
Right.
The problem is I lied. That is not a bear. That is the internal headpiece of a stellar sea lion. Here's a quick video for the uninitiated.
Never
no
heard of
respectable
them
parent would ever allow their child anywhere near these wild predators. Yet there's an asinine number that'll not just...
I mean, in one of the last videos, we did see people being stupid enough to put their children over the railings of some of those animals, so it's not impossible. I just think people probably assume that, like, sea lions and stuff probably can't move as fast on land. It's probably why people do that stuff.
Walk up to these, they'll seemingly offer their children to a predator in a way that should put you in a PDF doc. Asset 9, asset 10, that's asset 20. Even in this video, the sea lion literally lunges within inches of the little girl. Yet no one gains a sense of urgency until it triggers an Amber Alert.
Well, it was very close.
Treat sea lions the way you would a grizzly bear, because if you look at the skull, they're already halfway there. Sea lions got their name for one main reason. But you see, sea lions be lying and actually lie on the dog side of Order Carnivora, right there next to the bears of Ursidae and the weasel crash outs mustelids. Beach bears have decided to do the land thing part-time. Think of that every time someone calls one a sea puppy. They give bear in the face and bear in the waist, and I'm talking about their diet. Don't think they only eat fish, they'll straight up run down penguins. They'll unscrew the heads off of seagulls like bottle caps. I've seen them do it. They'll rip the throats out of sharks and eat them. Don't think that relationship is one-sided. There's whatever disrespect is this picture, and they'll even resort to flipper-friendly fire, as South American sea lions have mauled and eaten baby elephant seals. And some adult elephant seals will stalk and eat baby sea lions. And there's even seals that will eat other seals. And the same way you have land bears pulling up for a piece of our garbage, in some places like Chile, you have sea lions spawning at fish markets for free eats. And if you live here, a panhandling pinniped is as common to you as a deer, fox, or raccoon. But this can also lead to turf wars between the city's slicking sea lions and packs of stray dogs already living there. Y'all call them sea dogs. Maybe y'all need to see them next to dogs to realize Gulf grizzlies are not a joke. Nobody realizes how big sea lions are until it's time to realize how big sea lions are. Stellar sea lions are furry flippered boulders that can get to 9 feet and over 2,000 pounds of pinniped.
That is almost double my height.
But even the more common California sea lion can humble you at over 800 pounds of blubber. Now, this isn't to demonize them. They are wild carnivores that actually don't have a reputation for being super aggressive. Unless you run into a hallucinating sea lion. That nightmare situation is the work of toxic algae blooms, the red tide, aka the Pacific's period. You know, jokes like that are the reason my audience is only 20% female. The problem is the toxic algae is eaten by small fish, and the small fish are then eaten by sea lions, meaning the sea bears bioaccumulate a neurotoxin that can lead to domoic acid toxicosis, which essentially turns them into zombies. Poisoned sea lions can suffer seizures and severe lethargy, but can also become wildly, almost rabidly aggressive. Girl, if you don't stand up. One man was surfing when an intoxicated sea lion jumped him and dragged him off his board. From the way he would describe the attack, you'd swear the sea lion was possessed by a demon. Sea lion almost had him lying under the sea permanently. Now, this isn't to make you hate or fear sea lion. Well, actually, yeah, it is a little. Healthy fear, you know? Because this video proves two things. One, as a society, we are not afraid of sea lions enough. And two, I gotta re-examine my personal biases. I've known about this video for years, and for years I assumed it took place somewhere in South America, like Uruguay. Shout out to Uruguay. This was in San Diego, La Jolla. Actually, I know.
I would assume it's America because Americans do a little bit of dumb stuff, so I'm not surprised it's American.
That because I went to San Diego, I went to La Jolla, and y'all do not take sea lions seriously over there. Which proves the third thing. We as a society are not nearly afraid enough of seal finger. And if you're wondering,
What
seal
is that?
finger is what happens when a sea lion that eats fish for a living without seeing floss or lying on a dentist chair bites you. Just an incredibly painful bacterial infection that can escalate to an amputation, and a hand that appears to be inflated. The chances you catch the seal version of the cheese touch are low, but everyone here is effing around on the doorstep of finding out, like this girl almost did. You
I've
never
never
want to
heard of
get
that.
got, but if you do, the incubation period of only a few days means you best get treatment soon. Waiting too long can be the difference between a cool scar with a story to tell and being a finger short on a handshake. I wouldn't know, I've never been
The
mauled by a
seal,
sea
right?
lion.
That's
I
not
did
your
get
real
bitten by a
hand,
squirrel as a
right?
kid though. To be fair, it was not the squirrel's fault. Either way, you could probably relate to putting off doctor's appointments longer than you should, and I would know. These dunks came at a price, and it's that I've seen the inside of more physical therapy clinics than gyms. Somehow I'm still not down. The longer I live, the more I understand this man right here. That's why it's pretty cool to have ZocDoc sponsoring this video. ZocDoc's a free casual Geographic.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to ZocDoc for sponsoring this video and for making taking care of your health that much easier. There is an even easier way though, because not doing this would have cost you absolutely nothing.
Yeah, just
Instead, you're negotiating custody.
don't go into sea lions area. Just don't do that. Maybe it doesn't sound that hard to avoid them.
With a wild carnivore. Now, mentioning their size, eyes, and predatory pastimes wasn't to make you hate them, but if you ignore that, you might be one of those people guilty of loving them to death. There are no absolutes in nature. Calling a wild apex predator a sea puppy can be just as damaging as dropping jaws on them. And I don't think there's a single predator that gets sea puppied more than an animal literally named lion. I don't think people realize how terrifying it is to get jumped by a mob of sea lions, especially in the water. But the problem isn't the sea lions, it's the people. Like I said, I just went to La Jolla in San Diego.
Okay.
I could not believe the lack of respect for a predator. People senselessly swarming them, completely crowding them.
I feel like people are not as afraid of like sea creatures, with the exception of sharks. Everything else, I don't think people really fear as much as they should, especially like mammals that can go on the land. Especially like Florida, they are not as scared. They're not scared of alligators and crocodiles as they should be.
And even just barely being run
crazy.
over by them. Pause it. If an animal with sea in its name charges you, I do not think retreating into the water is the best use of your mental faculties.
Right.
This was an insane image. One, because I do not think these people realize they are within striking range of an animal that could literally drown them. But more importantly, two, this is only going to get sea lions killed. San Diego has arguably the best weather in America, with beaches that rank pretty high up too. It's the perfect nursery for hauled out sea lions, who have their pupping season from mid-May through October, with many pups being born in June. One mother recently went viral for birthing twins, which is incredibly, never seen before in the wild, rare. The problem is that pupping season also coincides with the peak of tourist seasons, and it's usually tourists that you'll see harassing locals. And this has had devastating consequences. Just this year, out of the 20 sea lion pups born at La Jolla Cove, 9 have already died, with many showing signs of starvation due to abandonment. When people crowd a mother sea lion for pictures, it doesn't just cause unnecessary stress to an animal that should be at rest. It can force the mother into a decision: either stay in a stressful, potentially life-threatening situation, or bail on her baby. It sounds messed up, but in an evolutionary sense, you can always make another baby. Now, should you die, your baby go, and so does your baby-making career. It's why marsupials like kangaroos and quokkas will straight up eject their offspring as a last resort. The problem is that last resort often leads to sea lion pups starving to death for a picture you could have just taken from further away with a zoom. Like what are we doing? Now, we can't pin all the deaths on people, but at a nearby cove, out of the 25
I wouldn't mind doing
so
that.
far only 2 have died. So if it was outside factors, you'd expect most, if not all, the pups to be in past tense. But for some reason, one beach has way more infant flatlines than the other, and the only difference is La Jolla Cove is open to people. The tragic irony is, it's probably the people that adore them the most. You know, the animal lovers that just can't help themselves from getting close, that are getting
They
the
need
sea
to help
lions buried.
themselves and
Basically,
not do that.
seals and sea lions are being loved to death, and it's not just a problem in San Diego. All right, let's talk about Neil the seal. I am very scared for Neil. Neil is a southern elephant seal whose mother had a problem.
Is that the one that's in Australia that Morpars mentioned, or is that a different one?
In 2020, she was inexperienced and very pregnant. Instead of giving birth on Macquarie Island like up to 20,000 other mother elephant seals, she got lost, possibly in a bad storm, and ended up nearly 1,000 miles off course and had Neil in Salem Bay in Tasmania. In a matter of time and mother's milk, Neil grew up fast and quickly went viral for his blatant disregard for human infrastructure. Neil
I
was
was
a flesh
right.
torpedo-shaped disrespect to his surroundings, whether it was by galumphing into oncoming traffic or asserting his dominance on a traffic cone. Neil was an ungovernable menace to society that everyone loved. He was basically on a first-name basis with an entire town. That's how Tasmania became the only place where a legitimate excuse to miss work was a 1,300-pound
I've
Neil
heard
sleeping
about
in front of your
that.
car. Neil blew
Thank
up
you, more
in weight,
cars.
but in clout too, flexing a fan page almost 3 times the population of Tasmania. Neil had messed around and become a national treasure in a place he wasn't supposed to be in. And that would be a problem, one that would come down to the very nature of elephant seals. Southern elephant seals, like many pinnipeds, have strong sight fidelity. Like turtles, they show up to the same beach year after year, so even though they spend up to 10 months at sea, where they'll haul out on land is always a guarantee. But with Neil born in Tasmania, instead of an island like Macquarie, his instinctual GPS would always bring him closer to people than seals. Even if they tried relocating several tons of testosterone, eventually he'd just spawn back in like a homing pigeon. Which leads to the second problem. Southern elephant seals aren't just the biggest seals, they're by far the tankiest carnivorans. The stellar sea lions from before can weigh 2,500 pounds, the walruses can peak at 4,000, but a peak elephant seal can break the scales at nearly 9,000 pounds. Males use that bulk to get into violently bloody sledgehammer matches for females, which makes Neil's Neilness make sense. Neil is only a fraction of his final form, and he's only going to get bigger. For now, Neil...
Hello! Hello, thank you for the raid, holy shit, hello.
Which makes Neil's Neilness make sense.
And also
Neil
very
is only
sad.
a fraction of his final form, and he's only going to get bigger.
How
For
old
now,
is he? I
Neil's
forget.
gone back to the sea, but eventually, he'll come back as a Beachmaster level bull, and with him, so will the chances someone's human curiosity gets him turned into a chalk outline.
It also sucks that I doubt he's gonna encounter that many of his own kind, probably in Tasmania. I highly doubt he's gonna, unfortunately, see anyone like him, other than just tourists following him around.
In a story you've heard before, the moment it happens, Neil will be a dead seal. To be fair, Tasmanian officials insist that euthanasia is not the move, and there have even been petitions signed against it. But the more people willfully come into contact with Neil, the higher the chances someone ends up loving Neil to death. It wouldn't be the first time. We've played these games before, and it ended...
Before he says that, I do not understand going up to a wild animal, and 2, a wild animal that has been known to be a little bit of a menace. I don't understand that. That is just an accident waiting to happen for either you or for the animal. No, Neil does not need McDonald's. I think he's big enough of a boy. We don't need McDonald's for him.
with an execution.
This is gonna get sad, probably.
Freya. Freya was another anomaly. Instead of living in the Arctic Circle with her own kind, somehow the walrus had ended up hundreds of miles away, seen frequenting the coasts of Sweden, Denmark, Germany, and the Netherlands as early as 2019. There's no way to tell how a walrus wound up there. Some say climate change. But also, walruses have the habit of waking up in the weirdest places. Either way, Freya became a staple, and by 2021, she was named after the Norse goddess of love and beauty. By summer 2022, she arrived in Oslofjord, Norway, where her habit of sunbathing on and sometimes sinking boats made her as famous as a walrus could be. It was like Norway had their own Selkie, and Miss Freya easily became a national celebrity. With all the attention, people started coming in from all over to see Freya, often getting close enough to audition for a Darwin Award. Reminder that walruses are tusked blubber-backed units that can make polar bears pump fake, and Freya herself weighed about as much as a cute buffalo. That didn't stop people from getting within tusk range, and Freya didn't make it any easier, as she'd gotten comfortable enough with people to start actively approaching them. Walruses are hyper-intelligent and highly social. Instead of being part of a herd hundreds of thousands strong, Freya was left to seek out humans. Seeing where this could go, the Norwegian Directorate of Fisheries issued out several warnings, but of course, we wouldn't be talking about it if they'd listened. It didn't get better, in fact, somehow it got worse. People would continue swarming Freya, would get into the water to swim with Freya, and at one point, some started pelting stuff at Freya. Even after Freya started...
What the fuck is wrong with people? What? It's one thing if you like the creature. Why would you throw stuff at a random animal that people like? Regardless of if they like it or not, why would you throw stuff at an animal that is not harming you? Why? I have so many questions. Why? Huh? No. That is crazy. People are weird
lashing
and
out and even
evil.
chased a woman into the water. Obviously, nobody listened. To make it worse, relocation wasn't really an option, mainly because the process of tranquilizing a
The big boy.
600-kilogram animal would legitimately risk drowning
600
her.
kilograms.
Freya had become the unmovable object to the growing public's unstoppable force. The situation was untenable, and it was only a matter of time before someone's lack of preservation got them killed. Walruses aren't known to be aggressive, but their size has made them hazards by nature, with one incident in 2016 where a selfie-taking tourist was drowned by one. On August 12, 2022, the directorate issued its final warning, pleading with the public. And on the night of the 13th,
no. I feel like at that point, the people kind of deserve what happens to them. If they're gonna do that kind of thing, they kind of somewhat deserve it. But oh no.
Officials patrolled the marina with a rifle, and come sunrise, Freya wasn't around to see it. Freya never hurt anybody. She never did anything wrong, but because people couldn't just let her live, they ultimately sacrificed her.
Why are they doing that?
Freya had been loved to death, and the worst thing she ever did was trust people. Because like I always say, the worst thing an animal can do is lose its fear of humans.
Right.
One seal lost its entire existence.
I don't know enough about Steve Irwin to have a opinion on that. But I do know I don't like how people demonize, what was it, stingrays because of him, because he would not want that. But people are crazy animals, especially wild ones.
Because of it. The last Caribbean monk seal was seen in 1952. Before that, they existed in populations as large as 300,000. So what happened?
Hunting,
when Columbus and
probably.
friends touched down on the island of Alto Velo, they were met with a horde of seals that showed zero fear towards them. They immediately butchered ate on sight, starting the disturbing trend of hunters using the seal's nature against it. The Caribbean monk seal's tragic lack of a flight response meant poachers could just walk right up to them and take their lives with no effort.
But
the seal's docile nature got abused, and they were seemingly wiped out before conservation could even get the chance. Which brings us back to San Diego, where they're somehow recycling the same script of getting way too close to a wild predator. But as an outsider from the opposite coast, there was some lore I was not aware of. In 1931, philanthropist Ellen Browning Scripps sought to create a small sheltered beach where children could play and swim in the waves while safe from the infamous Pacific Rip currents. The issue started when the children's pool of La Jolla became a sanctuary, not for kids, but for resting harbor seals who started having pups there. By 2009, there were 200-something seals, and San Diego started closing down the beaches temporarily during their pupping season.
Good. They need to do that more. They need to close it down probably longer. I own absolutely nothing involving real animal skin. No.
That pissed a lot of people off. The beach was made for kids. People had grown up playing on that beach, and to be fair, they were there first. It was their right. That was the kind of stuff.
But it can be also for animal kids too. It should be animal kids, I think, maybe have higher priority on that list than your kids that will probably be on the iPad the whole time anyways.
Along with lobbying for the city council to remove the seals. Just for the record, the children's pool is down in South La Jolla. That's the one harboring seals. La Jolla Cove, the one from this video, that's the one with the sea lions.
Close them all.
Two different areas that people will mix up while double dipping the same argument. Either way, it's led to a complicated conflict between a city and its sea lions. On paper, the Marine Mammal Protection Act gives sea lions and the like diplomatic immunity, making it illegal to move, malice, or otherwise molest the mammals. The catch is, local park rangers can't enforce a
I would ask why that's a part of it, but knowing people, that's... Oh, God.
Or otherwise molest the mammals.
That's
the catch
crazy.
is, local park rangers can't enforce a federal protection act. They technically can fine people for the following, but a lot of park rangers are strongly encouraged not to. The most they can do is yell at adult toddlers.
Why would they
also,
be
there are signs, but signs are as useful
not
as a
to?
bicycle to a fish when 20%
people.
of the population is illiterate. And even more pretend to be.
Me.
So La Jolla clearly has a crowd control problem, and a tourist going tourist, but the California Coastal Act means San Diego is legally required to keep all public beaches open. The locals can be just as difficult, as it's many of the long-time residents, especially those in a swim club, that have pushed for the city to remove the sea lions. Probably because living in La Jolla long enough guarantees that you've been mobbed by a pride of sea lions at least once. That and the smell. To be fair, as someone who's been to La Jolla, you smell the cove 10 minutes before you get to the cove. I don't know if it was the pelicans or the sea lions, but it's definitely the kind of smell you taste in your eyes.
Are you
it's
sure
so
it's not
offensive
the
that the
people?
city revealed plans to spray an odor abatement on the cliffs to reduce the smell. Yeah, they want to
I feel like
deodorize
it might be the
nature. I hope
people.
that sounds as ridiculous as it felt to say. And while no one will argue that it smells like a pelican porta potty, many have argued the possible implications for the animals. So you see how it's a bunch of bureaucratic bullshit and infectious entitlement with sea lions being caught in the middle. But don't get it twisted, sea lions do have an ally, and there are plenty of locals that have made it their mission to safeguard the seals. One of them helped me with this video, and shout out to Mermaid Morgan La Jolla for giving me insight that I just would not have had as an outsider. Thanks to her, I was even able to sit in on a coastal commission meeting where I got to see everyday people advocating and giving their voice for those that don't have one. I also found that budget cuts eliminated 52 positions from the Parks and Recreations Department, including rangers. So people do care, it's just that they're not getting the support. So what can you watching this, hello, hi, what can you do? Well, the Sierra Club, this isn't sponsored by the way, but the Sierra Club of San Diego is the largest grassroots environmental activist group in the country, and a big part of their MO is protecting the sea lions. I'm going to be donating to them, link in the description if you'd like to as well. You can also use their link to contact higher ups in San Diego.
That is very small text.
Pressure. And if you're a local,
Geographic.
bring back public shaming. If you see someone next to a sea lion, you 100% have my blessing to be annoying about it. And if
shame them, bring back the shame.
you can't do that, snitch. I'm serious. There's numbers you can call, and sea lions don't have phones.
If you ever go to the beach and see that, here are the numbers. Shame them.
It's not just for the sea lions, it's for Freya, for Neil, and for the seals we aren't getting back. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. YouTube usually doesn't like when I make these kind of videos, so if this video can get to 160,000 likes, I'll post the real reason I went to San Diego.
Oh?
Yeah, foreshadowing. But other than that, drink water,
what's
hug your
the real
mother,
reason?
touch grass, hug your father. Remember, your camera has a zoom on it. You're allowed to use it. And I'm a seal, see y'all in the next one.
Hell yeah. Well, YouTube, hope you enjoyed that one. Or I guess that's not quite the word. If you see seals, just zoom in on your camera. Don't go up to them. Don't pet them. Don't disturb their young. Don't do any of that stuff. Just admire them from afar. Or better yet, maybe don't go to that beach. Maybe don't.